Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you!
Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion.
And I'm Kenzie Paige, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion.
And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again?
Podcast, period.
Or you're ugly.
Pretty
Power approved.
We hate it! You already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. I'm J. Cal. That's DK. What's up, everybody?
Nothing.
I dig the shirt you're wearing, but did you see the original, the throwback? Do you think I should put these up on the t-shirt, on the merchandise? Merch? Whoa, let's try it again.
Merch?
Do you think I should put that up on the merch site? The original Alliance blog t-shirt?
I need a haircut. Gee whiz, why'd you let me get this shaggy?
Actually, I think it looks pretty good on you.
I think you should put that up on the site.
We have some cool shirts coming up. Have you seen the new Lucha mask shirt we're working on?
I have seen. I actually made it out to the Discord server yesterday, I think it was.
What were you doing on the Discord server? It's not like you to be on the Discord server.
I don't know. It was probably clicked it by accident. Hey, before we go any further, let's shout out to Jonathan Burrell. Who told us that he's, the stream is past his bedtime, but he still wants to ask a question. So, Mr. Namby-Pamby can't stay up past 1 a.m., which, by the way, I don't want to, but somehow do anyway. Just one question. What heat does Tyrus get? He doesn't seem to get heel heat or go away heat. It feels like he gets no heat at all. Well, Mr. Jonathan Burrell, he gets Billy Corgan heat, which is Billy Corgan's kind of positioned him as a tweener, and nobody cares about him. So we don't really boo him or cheer him. We just wish somebody else was champion. We dream about the day when Billy's brain will come back. So that's my answer to your question. Jay, do you have an answer to his question?
I think the thing about Tyrus is, for whatever reason, okay. So let's preface this by saying that Tyrus is one of the guys that spent a significant amount of time in the World Wrestling Entertainment. A lot of people still remember him as the Funkasaurus. They still have fond memories of him dancing in the ring. And he was funny and silly. And I heard him recently talk about, he went to the back to complain about that gimmick to Dusty Rhodes, and Dusty Rhodes started telling him about the polka dots and the black shorts, and it kind of changed his tune a bit. And I think with Tyrus, I think ever since he's been in the NWA, he's always had the attitude of making chicken salad out of whatever they give to him. But the weird thing is, when he's so well received on Fox News, when he was in Mexico, and again, the entire night in Mexico, 2 1-hour shows, matches, every single NWA wrestler that came out was presented as a heel. Whether it was Carrie Morton and Sal Renaro, whether it was Homicide and Scion, whether it was Aaron Stevens and Natalia Markova, Camille, Tom Latimer, Chris Adonis, and Kratos, everyone was presented as a heel, even La Rebellion. The only person that was well received by the AAA crowd was Tyrus. And recently, AAA released that show in its entirety on its YouTube channel. So it's available to watch. If you don't mind Spanish commentary, if you just want to watch the wrestling, it's available on the AAA YouTube page. They've also, somebody's also posted it in the Discord. You can find it. It's not hard to find. But reading the comments, and I got to tell you, DK, I'm not an affluent Spanish speaker. I'm learning the language. I'm reading the comments. I'm using Google Translate. They liked him. They said he was very respectful, and he was very humble. And even when this isn't breaking news, Daga gets hurt in the match. Daga suffers I think a torn quad or something in the match. He goes down, and instead of Tyrus insulting him or insulting the crowd, he actually cheered for Daga, and the crowd reacted very well for him. So what can I tell you? What kind of heat does Tyrus get? It depends on where you're at, I guess. On this page, on this channel, he doesn't get very well received. I see comment after comment that he's not very well received. Willie Bone will tell you this right here. The only heat Tyrus get is that from a hot plate full of food. But in Chicago, right, in Highland, they were cheering for him on the Start of Power. They were cheering for Tyrus. Now, he was designed to be a heel, but he's being pushed as a babyface. I don't even know anymore, to be quite honest with you. And I think that's probably one of the bigger problems for the NWAs. There are no clearly defined roles for heels and babyfaces. There's just a smattering of gray everywhere. And I think that's fine for life, but not for pro wrestling.
When we were in New Orleans, the night of the pay-per-view, and he was kind of being promoted as a local boy.
Yeah.
On the night of the pay-per-view, he was pretty well received. On the night of the TV tapings, he was booed. And I don't remember if it was him or Kyle Davis. I think it was Kyle Davis actually made notice, reference to that now you're booing him. And yeah, it has a little bit to do with how he's being used in Billy's modern day belief that wrestling doesn't need heels or faces. That's everybody talks about how you got to keep up with modern wrestling, but modern wrestling doesn't draw what old time wrestling used to draw. And,
yeah,
and it's just one of those things, and it's like, okay, no, heels and faces are important. That's what gets you invested. And so I don't know. I mean, but I do think up here in this area, with a lot of fans, I don't think they're that into him one way or another. I don't think they care enough.
Willie says babyfaces and heel make pro wrestling exciting. I think it's just that's the formula, man. I think any deviation from that, you're not setting yourself up for success. And the problem is the internet doesn't like Tyrus. Okay, the internet isn't 100% the NWA crowd. However, the only way you can watch the NWA is on the internet. So there is something to appeasing a crowd base that is made up of the people that that are watching you. But again, 400 people cheering for him in Highland, Chicago. There were thousands of people who were celebrating him in Mexico City. I don't know, man.
Yeah, but we're in Chicago. Were they cheering him or booing the opponent?
No, this was when he was. This was on Power when he. I'll be honest, DK.
Yeah, but I mean, look who's all there. That's what I'm trying to say.
In the moment. Okay, so in the moment, I didn't watch 312. That's what I wanted to say. I haven't watched it. I probably won't watch it. There was nothing compelling for me to go back and pay $25 to watch it. And I heard the production sucks. So what's the point of wasting my time and money? But go back to
make me waste my time and money and not have anyone to commiserate with.
Tim was commiserating with you for 3 days.
Who's Tim? No, just kidding.
That's cold. But this was during Power when he was in the ring with Kyle Davis and Jordan Clearwater. And the fans, granted, he didn't say anything more than that he wanted to be a part of the Crockett Cup, that's where the history lies, and he's a big history buff. And we'll get more into Power in just a few minutes, but the crowd was cheering for him. And this was, and maybe that's a byproduct of the NWA audience, because when Nick Aldis was heel, the fans were still cheering for him too, especially when he got into the history of the NWA.
I think to an extent, NWA is so down to its hardcore fans that, I mean, look, they cheer or boo based on, I think, what they think they're supposed to do sometimes.
There might be some truth to that.
Well, and I go back to Odison, who was kind of like a big heel against, Bully Ray. And then after that feud was back on Power and everything, where all of a sudden he was a face.
Yeah.
And then he's in the Thrillbilly thing, not tournament. What's that called? Battle Royal. And he's acting like a heel again. And, it's just there's no consistency at all. So, I mean, sure, you can get crowds that cheer. You had 250 people at the last pay-per-view that, cheered him. Or some cheered him at least.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the one thing I learned from watching the Florida tapings is it doesn't take many people to make sound if the rest don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you could watch in Florida, and 80% of the people sat on their hands and just watched it like they were watching a matinee movie thing. And, you'd hear people cheering or booing, but a lot of times you'd only see this one corner, or you knew they were off to the one side. You didn't see a whole lot that convinced you that, oh my, these are big tapings or, big to-dos or anything like that the fans are really into it. So again, where you are, what's going on, what the story is. If the story is Tyrus is looking for a tag team partner to be in the tournament, so does that mean the title's not going to be defended? I mean, he doesn't defend the title as is. He only defends the title on pay-per-views for the most part. Now, he defended down in Mexico because they went, and I guess he's defending in Australia. We don't know because, of course,
no, I don't think he is, but I'll get to that in a minute too.
I was going to say true, because the NWA hasn't shown one picture of him.
No, I have a pretty good understanding what's happening with Australia right now. And we'll break into that as soon as we're done talking about this.
Well, I'm glad you do, because, of course, the NWA ain't sharing crap about it. And I even reached out to somebody on one of the top wrestling news websites who was talking about them being in Australia. And I asked,
Denise doesn't know, dude.
No, it's Pro Wrestling Insider.
Oh.
And I reached out to a guy that, I don't remember if it was Mike Johnson or which one. I said, are there any results coming in? He's like, not yet.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so let's switch gears then, okay? Well, real quick, I do want to react to what our pal Scoob said. Imagine the Crockett Cup 5 nights a week on Gutfeld. Yeah, I mean, would you be surprised if Billy did that? At this point, I wouldn't. Hey, what better way to get our trophy some airtime than on Gutfeld?
You just made me sadder than I've been in a long, long time.
I'm so sorry. It's not, honestly, it's not with the intent. It just happens to go that way. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to ignore looking at the camera. I'm just doing 3 things at once over here. Trying to encourage our Twitter friends to jump online too, because we're talking about some good stuff here. And I'm glad Mike's in the house. He's going to make me hungry because he's making calzone stromboli and Neo pizza. I don't even know what the hell Neo pizza is, but I think I want it.
I just work here. Neapolitan pizza?
Maybe that would make sense. All right. Well, first, before we get into Australia, let's just for a minute talk about what a dick Carrie Morton is. I honestly thought that it was just a one-off. Seeing Carrie Morton in Mexico, like I literally watched him. We were at the Monster Wolf concert. I got to see him. We talked for a little bit. He was getting rowdy. He was drinking the alcohol. DK. He took off his shirt. He was spinning it around. He was really getting into everything. I thought this was just a one-off, right? So when he was in Mexico, but then
we can't hear you because it muted when the video
okay.
played.
I thought it was just Carrie playing up to the audience in Mexico. That's what I thought it was. But then you get this. And if you saw how he was playing the guitar on the belt, that was kind of made famous by Hulk Hogan, the Hollywood Hulk Hogan, right? If you watch Power this week, when he won, he did the same thing, right? So it's not just something that happened in Mexico. This is stuff that's happening now everywhere. Like I've seen some Twitter promos with Carrie Morton, and his language is a little bit more obtuse. He's a little bit more critical of his fellow, wrestlers. He's very boastful about being a world champion. And then in Australia, he does this.
But you still want to have the main event next year in Brisbane. Australia, when I'm talking, you shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. You stupid asshole. Listen, when a world champion shows up here and Brisbane Australia, whatever that is, don't you look at me like that, you stupid goofball. The best thing you have seen since sliced bread, and obviously
I mean, Carrie's really letting that audience have it. This isn't Ricky Morton. This isn't these aren't the words that you would ever hear from Ricky Morton. Kid's gone rogue.
He was a heel once.
Huh?
He was a heel once.
Yeah, I mean, but he was
not a very good one, but he was one.
He was part of the York Foundation, and he was less of a heel and more of just a compliant person. He just did what was asked of him. He just did what was told. This is this is Kerry Morton really stepping out of his father's shadow, right? This is a different kind of Morton that we've ever seen.
Yeah. His character's interesting, but as we'll talk about when we get to his match on Power, his in-ring work still isn't good.
That's fair.
And so and you will notice Ricky didn't seem to have a problem with him cheating.
No.
There was no...
Well, Ricky wasn't in the audience. Ricky wasn't ringside during that match, though. So him cheating is kind of like, his pops didn't see it.
Didn't he make an appearance at the end?
I don't think so.
No, maybe not. But there was something. I don't think he actually has... I don't think that... I'm not saying they won't do Dominic and Ray because, WWE's doing it. I'm sure Billy thinks it'd be the best thing to do. But it's not being presented yet as there's trouble between father and son.
Yeah, and I don't think, even during the promo, we'll get more into Power in just a minute, but even in that promo where him and Carrie and Ricky were talking backstage with May, it almost like he was still being very boastful, very arrogant, right? Not like what you would ever hear out of Ricky Morton. And then looks at his dad and says, I couldn't do this without you, Pops. And, thanks to my dad. And then that's when they start talking about the two of them being in the Crockett Cup, which that's a whole other mixed bag. But let's get back to what's happening in Australia. So as far as the results from Australia, not a whole lot's been coming in. I've been trying to keep up with it. One of the websites that I like to frequent quite a lot is Cage Match, because Cage Match tends to have a lot of the results of what's happening in Australia. And in particular, I did find the results for one night. And the thing about, so I guess there's a misconception, right? Because when the NWA went to Mexico, they went to go work with AAA. And let's be honest, AAA is a huge wrestling company in Mexico. Obviously, there's more than just AAA in Mexico. CMLL, AAA are very much akin to how WCW and the WWF were in the 90s, where they're competing for exposure, competing for bucks, competing for an audience. Hell, they even compete for talent. You'll see guys like Blue Demon Jr., who spent a majority of his career with CMLL, jump over to AAA. In the past, you had, somebody like Rocky Romero, who wrestled briefly in AAA, now working for CMLL. And sorry, I got an itch in the nose there. So obviously, those are two very big companies. Whereas in Australia, there isn't a major wrestling promotion, not like there is in Mexico, not like there is in Japan or in the United States. What there is, though, is a very solid few independents. And one of them is called Pro Wrestling Australia. Now, Pro Wrestling Australia is based out of Sydney. And that's where a lot of the talent came from on the show that happened on April the 18th. And I know a little bit about it because the results were posted again by cagematch.net. Check it out. But this whole Wrestling Alliance of Australia, that's not a real thing. You go Google that. There's nothing independent of what's talked about on this World is a Vampire press conferences. There's nothing independent of those that would indicate there is this functioning group in Australia. What it is a couple of wrestling promotions that are working with the NWA, and they've just been labeled this. This is essentially like an international wrestling Grand Prix. There is no actual WAOA. So the role of that was presented by Pro Wrestling Australia on April the 18th. A lot of world traveling talent appeared on the show. Jack Bonza, who was the person that faced Silas Mason, actually has been a part of NWA Pro Wrestling on the showcase. Jack Bonza, not Silas Mason. He faced Mercurio. He was part of the NWA Pro Wrestling Showcase back in 2008. He came to the United States with that Australia Dave Marquez pact that brought talents like Shane Haste, Mikey Nichols, and a bevy of other talents here to the United States. And the in 2006, 2007, 2008 time. Bonza is actually part of a stable called the Nations, which includes Mick Moriarty, Jessica Troy, both of whom worked on this card on the 18th, and also featured Madison Eagles and Shaza McKenzie. Both of them are pretty well known in the U.S. Moretti and Troy have also worked in the United States quite frequently. Moretti has even appeared in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. He's had matches for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Likewise, so has Troy. She's also worked for Shimmer and Shine. And prior to the pandemic, both of them had matches, again, with the aforementioned CWF Hollywood, Chikara, CZW, and Limitless. And there was a lot more stops in between, but those are the big promotions. The team that challenged La Rebellion was the team called the Velocities, Jude London and Paris de Silvia, both of whom have spent a lot of time working in Rev Pro in the United Kingdom. Both of these guys also have appeared in the United States as well. And, every time New Japan Pro Wrestling comes to Australia or New Zealand, many of these talents will work those shows, as well as the World Series of Wrestling. That's the big show in Australia where they bring in talents from the United States to wrestle these tours, not unlike what's happening right now with the NWA. So the first match, Jack Bonza defeats Mercurio. Silas Mason defeats Matt Diamond. Matt Diamond used to team with Robbie Eagles. That's really the only thing of note that I could say about him. Again, La Rebellion defeated the Velocities, but the Velocities are a really solid tag team, maybe even a tag team we could see in the Crockett Cup if Billy is so inclined to bring in some talent from out of the country. Cherry Stevens and Jessica Troy defeated the team of Kenzie, Paige, and Natalia Markova. And of course, and the World Junior Heavyweight Championship was the main event when Carrie Morton defeated Alex Taylor and Mick Moriarty. So, I mean, that's kind of what's been happening, or that's the results of the one card from 2 days ago in Sydney, Australia. But there is footage that's coming out. You have to follow a lot of the NWA folks, specifically Kyle Davis has been posting a lot. And of course, I'm posting these videos without their permission. So if I get a strike here on YouTube or on Twitch, I wouldn't be surprised. But here's a little bit more of what's been happening. And I'll show you some clips from the match between La Rebellion and the Velocities. Galley and Davis are doing commentary while they're actually individually filming stuff on the show too. Here's a little bit.
Springboard! Could this be it? 1, 2, look at what breaks up the pinfall. Taking on both members of La Rebellion. He's got step over. House of Fire. This young man has been knocked senseless. Can he keep his head in the game? That's it. From top rope, coming off ropes. Oh no, we've seen this before. Look at the beast. Joe, this could be it. Into the cover, shoulders are down. Hard fought, but the winners of this match, and still NWA World Tag Team Champions, La Rebellion.
So, I mean, you could see that there is some good wrestling happening during these series of concerts.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Has La Rebellion ever hit Mark of the Beast where it looks good?
You didn't like that one?
It was one of the better ones I've ever hit. I still don't know that it looked good.
Maybe they should find a new finishing move.
And is it just me, or, La Rebellion by themselves aren't the biggest people? And, the guy who I saw, I don't know if I saw both of them or not, because all I saw was kind of skinny silhouette.
Yeah, the Velocity guys are not very big guys. I mean, they're I mean, they would slot in the junior heavyweight division, much like Lara Bellion would be considered junior heavyweights.
I was thinking more like Rolando, but okay, sure. I don't know. You know my feeling about people that if you tripped and fell on them, you'd get the pin.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear that, but I also feel like there's room for this in pro wrestling. I mean, look, Danny Limelight isn't much bigger than those two guys that we saw, and he's United Wrestling Network world champion. I think a good wrestling is good wrestling, and it doesn't matter if it's someone who's 6'4", 400 pounds, or someone who's 5'10", $175. If I see something that looks interesting and compelling in the ring, I'll watch it. Let me get to a little bit more.
All I'm saying is I've never seen a UF middleweight win the heavyweight title.
Sure, but this is also not mixed martial arts. You also haven't seen a pro wrestler connect with a 3-point shot at the buzzer either.
No, but that's not a combat sport.
That's fair. All right, so there's more chaos happening down there in Syndey, and we'll start off by Silas Mason addressing the Syndey crowd.
From Melbourne, because the country here in Sydney really sucks. I'll give you boys the honor of seeing me whoop this man's ass, just like the Maroons always whoop the Blues. Oh, come on. Joe Galli, sorry to answer me, properly has the biggest man I've ever lived.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest man who ever lived.
Go back to Canada. And so if you've been following what's happening in Australia, you've been seeing these hashtag Southern Six. And the thing they keep saying is the 2 is silent. And the reason why is because there's 4 members of the Southern Six. You've got Carrie Morton, your world junior heavyweight champion, Alex Taylor. You've got your women's television champion, Kenzie Paige, and of course, the number 1 contender for the national title there, Thrillbilly Silas. And the cost of admission to this group is they're literally branding themselves with that number 6. You see it there on Kenzie Paige, just left over of that butterfly. You see it on Alex Taylor. You see it on Silas Mason. There's something brewing here. And, when they were wrestling in Australia, also, that's during the Sydney, I'll just show you some more.
It's a numbers game even when the numbers don't make sense, Joe.
That momentary distraction was enough. Silas Mason sends him up. Here we go. He's going for the thrill ride.
Where he'll stop, nobody knows. He's still going, ladies and gentlemen. The winner of this match, representing the Southern Six, Thrillbilly, Silas Mason.
That distraction was all they needed for a big-time victory here at the World is a Vampire Festival. Thrillbilly Silas Mason has his hand raised.
In the matches where you gave results, wasn't Alex Taylor one of the people challenging for the junior heavyweight title?
Yeah, but I also feel like that might be it's matchmaking, which probably means that the opponent, again, I haven't seen video of the main event. I imagine it's like a 2-on-1 match where Carrie Morton has easy work. But then to finish this up, this whole segment, we did see that the team NWA, which was Alex Taylor teaming with Lara Bellion, took on the Velocities and another guy. I couldn't hear his name. This wasn't part of the match that was listed. These were the following night. And so they did a 6-man tag, Team NWA versus Team Syndey. And I have 2 different clips of that. Let me show those real quick. And then there's this one.
Oh, shit!
Well, Syndey, the Aussie boys got the win, but these gangs are going to let us know that they're better than all of us. I don't think so. Boo them out of the building. Look at those heads. How annoying is he? Oh. He's quite attractive, though. I'll give him that. No matter how unhappy they are, Syndey, your local boys got the win in the main event. Make some noise for Meridian, the Velocities.
So, needless to say, that watching those videos, number one, there's a couple things that I want to point out. I don't see hard cams, and I don't see a lot of camera equipment filming these things. I think I saw one guy who may have been recording. So we might not see any of these. This might be the most you see of what's happening in Australia, which is a shame. Such a wasted opportunity. The other thing I want to point out is, you know, Camille was originally scheduled to be on the shows that didn't work out. Looking at the roster, who's in Australia right now, and no disrespect to the talent, but there's a stark difference between the talent that was on the card against AAA versus the card that we are seeing presented on the 18th. You know, you had the world's heavyweight champion, you had the former. You had the tag team champions, the women's champion, the junior heavyweight champion. The next, you also had the next tier talent on the card. You had the TV champion teaming with the former national champion and a former tag team champion. You had some pretty upper echelon talent on this card. And as much as I love Silas Mason, he still hasn't won a championship in the NWA. Alex Taylor is just this much higher than being an enhancement. You got Carrie Morton, your junior heavyweight champion, and of course, you know, you've got Kenzie Paige, your women's TV champion, quite accomplished. You've got the tag team champions yet again, but you're missing some of the gravitas that the NWA has, the top part of the card, and I felt like that's kind of telling. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is the difference between a one shot and a tour.
Yeah.
I think going versus AAA, which was a larger established promotion, and you're going for one concert, one thing, 1 day of matches, then you go down there and you can bring your best, so to speak. Now we know that Camille was supposed to be a part of it. Theoretically, Latimer was supposed to be a part of it. Something happened that kept him, which is what kept Camille from going. 4 people plus 2 belts equals 6. It's as much logic as they ever use. But I do feel like, the junior heavyweight title should legitimately main event in places. But then again, I think that's one of the problems when you get somebody like Carrie Morton holding the title. Let's be honest, nobody thinks of him as a main eventer. Whereas if, when we had Homicide, you had somebody that was a former top champion in Ring of Honor and, has certainly done his share of main eventing in the years. So I don't know. The good news is it looks like they're having fun, and you can't, you can't fault anybody for having fun. The bad news is you don't have your world champion. You don't have your world women's champion. You do have your world tag team champions. That's good. You do have your world junior heavyweight champion, but, we talked about that main event, not necessarily someone that comes across the main eventer. Silas, of course, we love Silas, but again, as you point out, he hasn't won a title in the NWA. He's not somebody who, again, you put in the main event thing. No Scion, no EC3, so there's no national championship. They have 20 billion titles, and it's odd that they have 20 billion titles, and really only 2 are there to be defended. 3 champions are there, but I don't think Kenzie Paige is in there defending her women's TV title.
Yeah. And I honestly believe, excuse me, I believe Markova's role more on this show is really more during the actual concert. Her and Mercurio have had a segment during the Smashing Pumpkins concert, that the song that she comes out to as her theme music. I don't even know the song. Sorry, guys. That's the they have a segment where they both go up on stage and Markova beats the crap out of Mercurio while they're on stage. So
yeah, basically her shaking her ass and then Jack, which I'm all for.
I was gonna say, what are you complaining about, DK?
I'm all for. We'll talk about that in the power breakdown.
I literally wrote my notes for that. DK's gonna like this one.
But yeah, but yeah, that's their purpose seems to be there. I haven't seen any clips of them actually in the ring as
the one other thing, and I don't know from what day it was. It might have been from last night's show. It might have been from the first show, but Mercurio literally had a woman come with him from the crowd to take on a local Australian and Natalia Markova, which I guess the whole fan being in the match was just just for being silly, and eventually it was just a handicap match between Mercurio against Natalia Markova and the Australian wrestler. So they are there. They are wrestling. I just don't know to what extent.
And that's why you shouldn't date a female wrestler.
I've never dated a female wrestler, so I can't comment on that.
Well, if you ever want to get your ass kicked, date one.
And so, yeah, Willie Bowen says koala bears are in Australia. Yeah, yes. I didn't say panda bears, did I? And then Mike brings up a great point. Right, Jay, because this wasn't for us home fans. This was purely for Australia, for NWA to broaden and Billy to make some money on tour, which is all perfectly good. I don't have a problem with that, to be quite honest with you. I just think it's an opportunity that you could have created additional content. And even if you didn't have Tyrus or, Chris Adonis or Tom Latimer or Camille, you could have had these matches that you could have put a few of them together and released it as additional content. How many times do we have these episodes of Power that are just like throwaway episodes where you're literally in Australia, you're literally doing these live events in front of thousands of people? I mean, you could see in these clips, it's not the best lighting, it's not the best equipped, but There's thousands of people that are watching your product. What better way to showcase your product than with 1,000 people watching? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think what we were expecting was a Mexico City style show.
Yeah.
And what we're getting is indie wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, they even did the one move there, in the turnbuckle. It looked like, and it did not look good. And so I think that's where some of the, you're kidding me type stuff is coming in. I mean, again, the ones that are there, they look to be having fun. They seem to be enjoying it. Good for them. Nothing against any of them. Hopefully the crowd likes it, but it's not coming across as a professionally produced show. It's coming across as spring break.
100%. But with that being said, I would absolutely love, and I'm advocating it for right now. I'm advocating for anybody that can hear my voice, from anybody in the NWA, whether it be Joe Galley, Pat Kenny, Kyle Davis, Billy Corgan, Bruce Pritchard, whoever's involved.
Billy watches.
Yeah, whoever's involved. Dr. Tom, whoever. I said Bruce. If Dr. Tom's involved, anybody. I want this. I want the Southern Six. I think I want that in the NWA. I think I want, and you could easily add Pollo into that group. Hell, you could easily add Jeremiah Plunkett into that group, and there you got 6.
Pollo makes sense because of her current association with Thrillbilly. So,
and to be perfectly honest, it doesn't make sense for Kenzie Paige because she's already kind of in a group right now. But even if she broke off from that group and was a part of this group, I just think, look, there's a reason why it's fun, because it was very organic. To me, I think it's fun. I think this is a silly thing, but it could translate well. Look, Carrie Morton could only go so far as being Ricky's son. This is an opportunity for him to have a whole new lease on life. And imagine if every match he wrestles, you have to worry if Alex Taylor's going to get involved. You have to worry if Silas is going to get involved. You have to worry if maybe, the aforementioned maybe Jeremiah Plunkett gets involved.
This would give us a chance to get Ricky behind behind scenes and never seen on camera again.
At least not in the ring. I would love for Ricky Morton to stay on board and be an ambassador and talk about the NWA and be at all the events and sign autographs and kiss babies, and in the back tell the guys how to be better baby faces and help plan out matches. I don't want to ever see him in wrestle again.
Well, I wouldn't mind him in that role maybe in about a year after I haven't seen him.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Dave Scooby said, have a few matches and label it NWA Aussie and show it on Saturday instead of USA. Yeah, I mean, they could have done anything with this, right? And the thing about it is, if the blueprint for the NWA on these tours is not NWA Mexico, NWA AAA, okay, I get it. That was a very special event. It was really cool. I got to be there live. I enjoyed it. But if this is the blueprint for what they're going to do in the United States on tour, I could still see value in this. I could still see them doing these shows and recording it, and that could even replace what they're putting on USA. This could be your USA going forward.
I think in the US, you don't need passports, you don't need things. No. You don't need to. I mean, obviously the guys that are down there, they're giving up whatever they're doing in real life for however many weeks or months, and I don't know.
Sure. Well,
I don't know if they're going to change out any talent or not. So I would think in the U.S. that they'll be able to put on shows closer to what we're thinking of from Mexico.
A couple of things. First of all, I think they're less likely because a lot of the venues that they're going to be doing in the United States are much, much smaller than a Foro Sol. They're not going to do huge arenas. They're doing, I mean, some of the places are. Just from my own personal reference in Southern California, the Five Points Amphitheater in Irvine is just as big, maybe not as big, but pretty big in comparison to Foro Sol. But they're also doing events in like at the a much smaller arena in Highland, California, which is still it's like a concert venue. 15,000 people max, maybe even less, maybe closer to 5. I don't know how they'll be able to fit a wrestling ring in there and still have a decent concert. But then again, watching these clips, and I'm only going to bring it up just for a second because you can kind of see like this doesn't look like it's in the middle of a big. That looks like it's in the corner of the concert venue, which is perfect. That's all you need. Let the fans come over and watch the wrestling and start the band back up. I don't know. I plan on going to at least one of the Pumpkin concerts when it's out here in Southern California. And there's 3 of them here. And if they do wrestling, hell, I'll be at all 3 of them. But we'll wait and see on that.
All right. Just to make everybody aware, I just heard thunder. So apparently we have a storm heading our way. So if I disappear suddenly, blame it on the rain. I don't know.
It's the rain down in Texas.
Sure.
I don't know if I posted this yet, but I like it. Luther says Ricky should be the NWA's Walmart greeter. I think that's exactly what he should be. And so should Bobby Fulton. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful. I know their contributions that they made to the company years and years ago. The contributions that they made to the legacy, the alliance, the history, the tradition, all of that should not go on deaf ears. However, I don't want to see Bobby Fulton cutting promos on Wrecking Ball Legursky and Jay Bradley. I just don't. I don't want him to manage a team either. I want him to.
I might be a little over Bobby and Fixers. Like I might be totally over the Fixers at this moment.
I really think they need to rehab the Fixers. I watched the USA program. I did not watch when they had the title stolen from Billy, but I took that entire week off. I didn't watch any wrestling. We were celebrating my daughter's 10th birthday, and we did Great Wolf Lodge, and then we did Universal Studios back to back on for 4 days. We did 2 days at Great Wolf Lodge and 2 days at Universal Studios. And besides being poor, I was also very tired.
Whiner.
Luther says, I'll be kind and call them event hosts. Literally have them out front meeting folks at the door. I feel, again, talking about missed opportunities, every one of these pay-per-views should have a meet and greet. They should have a VIP ticket that gets you a meet and greet with exclusive merch for VIP guests and opportunities to take pictures and have autographs being signed that's not available to the entire audience. And that way you can be making more money on your ticket sales. And if this is for NWA fans, like Polka Dot Pam is flying all the way to Chicago to watch, the Smashing Pumpkins and to watch, Chris Adonis. If J Cal's going all the way to Mexico to see this, like, sell me a VIP ticket. Give me extra experience. Give me these things. And by the way, Pam was in Mexico too. I didn't want to leave her out. But I can't really foreshadow what's going to happen with the United States. I don't, as it comes to the Smashing Pumpkins tour, I don't know for sure how it's going to be. There's been very little communication, which is kind of like the hallmark of the NWA, as it seems. There's very little communication of what's going to happen next. But hopefully, and I'm hopeful for this. I hope that they have these wrestling shows, even if it's just like the ones in Australia, even if they're just silly little one-offs that have no connection to the NWA universe, as it will. I just think it's a good opportunity to get the name out there and to get more people exposed to the product. And get your guys some paydays while you're at it. Plus, there's something to be said about the experience of, in Australia, there's 10 shows in 15 days. I mean, these guys are getting some reps, and talent like Kenzie Paige, who does wrestle quite a bit, and Alex Taylor, and Carrie Morton, excuse me, Silas, them working this consistent, I think is great for them, and I think you'll see an improvement, hopefully, from all of them when they come back at the next set of tapings, and I'm guessing that's going to be at the Crockett Cup 2023, which is going to be back in North Carolina, where it was the first one in 2019. Winston-Salem as opposed to Concord, but it's all the same. So
Crockett Country, that's basically where you want to do it. So.
Yeah, I think, and with no disrespect intended for Nashville, I don't think that they should have done the Crockett Cup in Nashville. I think Nashville's a great place, but the Crockett Cup, when you think of the Crockett Cup, you think of Jim Crockett Promotions. You should be knee deep in the Mid-Atlantic if that's what you're going to do. And in Nashville, it's fine for your anniversary show. It's fine for, a pay-per-view with some significance. But I don't know. I feel like Crockett Cup belongs in the Mid-Atlantic.
It does. Not that I know anything, but it does.
Our buddy Mike says for Australia, that pavilion I was told in Australia holds 5,400. I was told about half that arena was full 2 days ago. I mean, look, I don't really care about the attendance because, again, most of what you saw in Australia isn't based on the ability for the wrestling to draw. It wasn't ever about the wrestling to draw. It was always about Smashing Pumpkins. If they had poor ticket sales, and you got to blame Jane's Addiction and Smashing Pumpkins because that's the draw. It wasn't Ric Flair. He wasn't, nobody was going there to see Silas Mason, with all due respect for Silas Mason. Love the guy. I think he should be the next big thing in the NWA, but nobody went to that show for Silas Mason. I mean, I went to Mexico City to see the NWA wrestling, but I was the minority. Most people didn't go there just for the wrestling. When the wrestling was over, you know what your boy Jay did? He went to go see CMLL down the street, an hour away. It's not about the Smashing Pumpkins for me. It was about the wrestling. But the majority of these concerts, it's not about the wrestling. It's about the concert.
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner?
Yeah.
I made ham fried rice. With little
ham fried or pan fried?
Ham.
That's what they need in the quiche.
Yeah. Well,
How can you do a quiche with broad beans but not meat?
I've never made quiche. Batpool Productions, who I think this is the first time I've ever seen them check out the show, so welcome to the show. They say, I live in Nashville, but North Carolina is my preferred call for Crockett Cup, and did the hashtag deals. Oh, is this Danny Deals? Well, hey, if it is Danny, what's up, man? Thanks for the promo codes you've been sending us. If it's not Danny, it looks like it's Danny in the little picture there. Thanks for being here anyways. Oh, it is Danny. Well, what's up, Danny? Hey, talk to anyone you can in the front office. We need the Southern Six in the NWA. I think that's a license to print merchandise and make money for you guys. I will definitely be buying a Southern Six t-shirt or hat when they become available.
And we need a deal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get on to Power, because I really felt like this was a strong episode of Power. After last week's episode, I wasn't, leading. I didn't see last week's episode of Power, but I do know that it was basically like a replay from the pay-per-view, right? From 312.
Right. I never watched it.
Okay. Willie Bowen isn't down with ham. I get it, man. I like ham and bacon. I don't do pork chops, but I like ham and bacon. Mike says supposedly there's a Southern Six hat, Sean, by that lemonade people Silas uses. Yeah, I'm very much considering getting that hat. And like I said, Danny, I think this is a good deal for you guys. No pun included. Or was it? I don't know. Anyways, let's get to Power, because again, I thought this was a really strong episode of Power. And credit to you, Danny. I thought you did a great job on commentary. I'm not sure that how do I put this politically? I think that Velvet Sky is great, but I thought Danny Deals did a really good job, and I think I'd like to see Danny Deals on commentary more frequently. There are 2 shows. You could really change up the motif. Maybe put Joe and Velvet on one show and Danny and Tim on the other. Timmy Thunder.
Timmy Thunder. I love that. Of all the things that Danny Deals has ever done, Timmy Thunder is the best.
Batpool. Danny says, if they do, I'll print it. I know you will, man. I know you will. It's just, we were talking about it earlier. I don't know how soon you got on here, Danny, but I really feel like this is a great, very organic group that I think could really, that's what I'm looking for, translate into the United States audience. And I think you have a great core group there. And I'm not asking you to book this, Danny. I don't know if you even have a voice in the booking office, but if they did, I think this would be a license to print money, print merchandise, then print money. Yeah, Deals and Timmy Thunder on USA. I think that's a combination for a winning. Like I've always felt that the show USA and Power are not different enough. It doesn't feel like there's a delineation. I don't know where Power starts and USA begins, but I feel like if you did do Timmy and Deals, now you've got a very different broadcast booth, and I think that's not a bad thing. I think that's actually would work really well.
No, they work well together.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I was surprised. I wasn't necessarily thrilled the first time I saw him on the commentary desk for the pay-per-view, but he won me over. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Timmy Thunder. I think he adds personality that, if I can say this, I think he adds the personality that they were hoping that Austin Idol would add.
That's probably accurate. And the funny thing is it's like Deals. I want you to know that we don't brag about. Well, let me say this differently. If we don't like something, I don't care who's in the audience and who's in the chat. We say, hell, we don't like it. This sucks.
Right.
We're not saying this because you're in the chat. You genuinely did a good job. We wouldn't say that if we didn't believe it. So I don't know. I don't know who's listening. Again, who knows? But I thought you did a hell of a job.
Listens.
I think he does sometimes. If he doesn't listen, somebody feeds him the show, I think. Anyways, let's get to Power, because again, it was a good episode of Power. Power starts off hot, man. And that Chicago Highland Park crowd is hot for the NWA. They're hot for Tyrus. You've got this big announcement to kick off Power, and we're all expecting some sort of big news. And it's that Tyrus is going to be in the Crockett Cup. That's cool. Nick Aldis similarly said the same thing, although he wasn't world champion at the time. He mentioned that the prestige of the NWA, the history, the legacy, the tradition, all that stuff is connected through the Crockett Cup, and that's one of the most historic things.
One of the times he was.
Oh, yeah. That's when he was going to be in 2020, but that one never happened.
Well, there was one. No, it was when Marty Scurll challenged him for the title at the Cup, because he originally wanted to partner with Marty Scurll to be part of the Cup, and Marty said, "Yeah, I'll stand in the ring with you, but as a challenger, not as a partner."
And that was in 2020, and that's the one that never happened.
No, because he did defend the title against Scurll. I think it was the year before.
No, so there was a Crockett Cup in 2018. I was at that one, and then 2019.
Did he face Scurll at 2018?
Oh no, I'm sorry. It was 20. Let me pull this up now. Now that I'm confused, it was 2019. That was the Crockett Cup before NWA Power. Let me pull it up here and just to make sure that I'm not crazy.
Well, you're crazy regardless.
That's fair. I'll take that. All right. So as I pull up the NWA with Nick Aldis, so in let's see, NWA matches. So at the 70th anniversary show, which was 2018, Nick Aldis defeated Cody. The next NWA big event was the pop-up event, which was 2019. Okay, so pop-up was 2019, and then the Crockett Cup was also 2019. So I'm sorry, the Crockett Cup 2019, it was Aldis versus Marty Scurll, and that one was never billed as like that. That had no TV time, so they didn't. I don't think they had an opportunity to present itself as anything more than that one night of wrestling. But then during Power on 2019 leading into 2020, that's when Marty Scurll made his debut on NWA television for Power, and Aldis was excited to see him, and they started talking about teaming for Crockett Cup, and that's when Marty Scurll challenged him again, although that match never happened because, again, the Crockett Cup and all wrestling events got canceled in 2020 for the NWA. That's
when Scurll wanted to, or didn't want to, but was forced into saying like he'd refund everybody's thing if he didn't win the title.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of glad that got canceled.
Well, they definitely booked themselves into a corner with that. But anyways, getting back to Power, let's see, where did my notes go? Okay, so here we go. So again, Tyrus, does a great job of being a world champion and connecting the history, the past, the present to now. And Jordan Clearwater's in the ring with him, and Jordan's like, and I'm so glad Tyrus picked me as his partner. And Tyrus says, what? Clearwater's like, we got a name, it's Golden Smash. And Tyrus just looks at him and says, I haven't picked my partner yet. Which, is going to lead to weeks of speculation. Who's his partner going to be? It's probably going to be Trevor Murdoch. I'm going to say it right now. I'm guessing it's Trevor Murdoch.
Isn't Trevor going to be teaming with Knox?
Oh, shit. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. So then who logically would make a good partner for, don't tell me EC3.
I can't tell you anybody because I don't know.
We'll make a guess.
Silent? I don't know.
Maybe Black G's.
Or somebody completely out of the blue would be another possible option.
By the way, and I don't know if he's still here or not, but
better not be Blue Meanie. But
oh god, notice how Danny Deals was here on 420.
Does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Makes me hungry. All right, let's go. So let's get back to Power. And it's a quick promo. I thought it was well done. What did you think of the promo, DK? What did you think? Did you think he did a good job? Do you think he needed to say something more? What do you think?
I think it was good for what they were trying to do. I wasn't necessarily thrilled with what they were trying to do, but I mean, overall, yeah, it's good. I mean, it seems to me like, and we haven't seen Idol recently. So it seems to me like, I don't know if Idol sports management is done or, what the deal is.
Danny Deals? Sorry.
Yeah. So
what's the deal?
It's I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could show up again out of nowhere at the next pay-per-view and the next thing. It's just that, he hasn't really been involved since he, during the last couple of sets. So, I mean, he wasn't there for Sion, was he? When Sion lost the title, he wasn't at the last pay-per-view, was he?
I don't think he was at 312, but the thing about 312 is a lot of people miss their flights. There's a lot of travel issues. I mean, I know, I can only speak for the people that I actually talked to, but Gary Horn didn't make it to 312. Will Martin didn't make it to 312 because they had travel issues. And I know there was some talk that they were thinking about driving up from, South Carolina to Chicago, and I guess that just didn't play out.
I don't think I'd do that.
I mean, hey guys, how bad do you need me? I think that would have been my question. What can I work remotely for this one? Because that's a long drive. Now I'm looking because that's the way my brain works. So how long of a drive is it from South Carolina to Chicago? Let's see. All right, almost there, guys. Bear with me. This isn't a live pay-per-view, is it?
Maybe.
13 hours and 4 minutes.
No, 9 hours is pushing it for me. So
4 hours in a car is pushing it for me.
Well, an hour is pushing it for me, but if I really want something, 9's about the end of it.
Is that how long it took for you to get to New Orleans?
Took me somewhere around 9 hours, maybe just a little over 9 hours to get there. Because of all the rain and everything, it took me about 10 hours to get home.
I know that it took Tim.
I cussed you a lot on the way home.
Sorry, I know Tim and Raluca took 9 hours to go from where they live. I think outside of Toronto down to Glassboro, New Jersey. And Dave Scooby, man, God bless Dave Scooby, because that guy drives.
Place that want to be less than Toronto would be Glassboro, New Jersey.
Did you see the food that I ate there?
I think I saw a pizza.
Oh, Jaden took me to this sandwich place, and I shouldn't be talking about food because I'm already hungry. But it was like he's gonna blow me up because I'm gonna mess it up. It was the traditional like skirt steak that you would use for a cheesesteak sandwich, but then he put in some sort of extra meat. I think it was like, a Willie Bowen, but it's some kind of pork, and it was, woo. I could only eat one sandwich. I could only eat half the sandwich. I felt like the biggest piece of ass in the world because I flew all the way to New Jersey, and Jade got me this cheesesteak sandwich, and I could only eat half. And it's like, I didn't have a refrigerator somewhere. I'm like, hey, man, you want to take this back to your house? Because I'm not going to eat it. It's going to go in the trash. She's like, nah, I don't want it.
Yeah, they're homeless somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I didn't want, the responsibility of carrying that sandwich all around Glassboro was not appealing to me. Anyways, let's get back to
like I said, that's the one place you'd not want to go more than Toronto.
If Smashing Pumpkins end up playing, if the NWA ends up wrestling in Toronto when they're there, I'm going to go stay the night on the other Timmy Thunder's couch.
Does he know this yet?
I've invited myself twice, so I think if I say it a third time, it's fact.
If he hasn't argued it yet.
I think they told me that at guest room, so I'm like, oh, perfect. Next up, we got Tom Latimer defending his television world championship. They started calling it world championship because Tyrus called it world championship with no other actual distinction other than, all right, well, Tyrus called it that, so that's what we're going to call it. Against Fodder. Now, this is the actual second title defense in the Lucky 7 series. The announcers point out that Tyrus is the last person to use that Lucky 7 strategy to cash in.
He's the only person.
Yeah, sorry. That's what I meant to say. In my notes, I put the last person.
True, but
yeah, we know that the Pope fell just a little short of getting to that Lucky 7. Of course, Ricky Starks did not last 2 title defenses. Zicky Dice had a handful of defenses, didn't get anywhere near 7. So Tom Latimer getting this big victory, number 2. 5 more. Oh, I blew the match, but anyways. Galley puts over that Fodder is a deserving challenger, which I take umbrage with. Because I went and looked back, Fodder has had 1 singles victory in the NWA, and it wasn't against somebody of well-known on the roster. It was, I think it might have been VHS, but I don't know for certain. I feel like Fodder gets way too much credit in the NWA for as little as he's accomplished. He's a guy who I think has potential, but let's bring him in, man. Let's give him some wins. Let's give him some losses. Let's not put him in a title match for the second time, right? Or I guess maybe he didn't challenge for the title when he faced Tom. I think that was a mixed tag match, but nevertheless, Let's let him take a break from Tom Latimer, and let's give him someone on the undercard to battle with. Put him in a feud with Joe Alonzo. Put him in a feud with Alex Taylor. Hell, put him in a feud with Jeremiah Plunkett. But keep him away from the title and the title matches because he's not there yet. Thank you.
It's one thing we complain about continuously, which is that nobody's built to be meaningful to challenge for a title. The closest they've done was Trevor Murdoch with the world title, and now Thrillbilly with the national title. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see how they play that out. But with EC3 holding the national championship, I don't know how. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that.
It's storming outside and you're in your seats, storming on you. I felt like, just getting back to the match, and we'll talk more about it after the match. They had an opportunity again. You put fodder there. I think that was a blown opportunity. I think Jordan Clearwater would have made a better challenger in this match. I think, I know Mims is kind of out of the picture. That's fine. There's other people who could have benefited from this match. Even losing to Latimer would benefit more than fodder, in my opinion. The guy got way too much offense in on this match. Again, I'm not a big fan of fodder. I don't think he's bad. I just think he's being elevated too quickly without the right set of circumstances. At one point, Angelina Love grabs on Tom's foot right in front of the referee, and they allow it. The referee admonishes her, but allows her to stay ringside. I just felt like that's kind of weird. Like why do it that way? And at one point, Fodder gets frustrated not being able to put away Tom Latimer, and he got a ton of offense in on Latimer. He grabs the psycho stick, and then he, right in front of the referee, hits Latimer. And instead of allowing the referee to do his job, Tom says, no. It didn't hurt. I want to end this match the right way. He connects with the pop-up power bomb, ices the cake with the cross-face chicken wing. Tom goes 2-0. But I just felt like what a poorly booked match. Easily the worst match on the card. And that's saying something because Latimer is so good, but he couldn't save this match.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with it. I mean, for me, this was probably the low point.
This was the worst part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, again, with the promo at the beginning, not necessarily wanted to hear, but they did a good job with it. For what they were trying to accomplish, they did a good job. This one, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish, and I just can't say it was a good job. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Mike says if the match was vomit, it would be chunky. Mike also said supposedly when NWA Power aired, the real Angelina under a name was in the chat and said how terrible and mean the chat is as they commented she is old and doesn't look good or belong in the NWA. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of messed up. But that's her fault for going on a chat where she's going to be ridiculed. Oh. You know why I don't go to Nick Aldis chats anymore? Because I don't want to be ridiculed.
That's why I'm
watching. That's why I stopped watching Impact because of Nick Aldis. I don't watch Impact.
I was gonna say, when did you start watching?
You know what though? I will say this. I know we're talking about Power, but I thought Josh Alexander looked pretty awesome. I probably wish I could have watched him as champion. And again, I've never had a problem with Mickie James whatsoever. I think she's a phenomenal talent. That show actually looks really good to me. I don't have the time.
Well, I've watched episodes here and there.
Yeah.
Mainly fast forwarding to get to anything that was like Josh Alexander related. But I'm recording tonight's show, and so I might see what Nick Aldis says or might not. I don't know yet. But I'm more interested in seeing the new champion, which the former Wesley Blake. I can't remember what his current.
He wasn't Wesley Blake. He was the other guy.
The other one. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember the other guy's name. Former tag team partner of Wesley.
Well, in Impact, his name is Steve Macklin. He's actually married to Deonna Purrazzo. They are the genuine power couple. They both have the titles now.
I recognize an Impact. I don't know. Anybody watch Impact?
What's your question?
Are they recognized as a couple in
I don't know. That I don't know. But while we wait for answers to that, let's go to backstage with May and Ricky and Carrie, where Carrie puts himself over so hard. He calls himself the Ayatollah of rock and roller. And now that makes me mad because that's what Chris Jericho used to call himself back in 1996. I just feel like this is, Carrie has a ton of potential. And I have written down right here in my notes, bad Carrie, good. Bad Carrie, good. I think if they let the wheels come off and like we said before, let Ricky Morton disappear and we get this son of a bitch Carrie Morton who's out here cursing at the Australian fans, cursing at the Mexican fans, doing his little dances, using t-shirts to be a butt floss. I think this kid could really, really be a heat magnet. And, you don't have to be the best wrestler to catch heat. You don't. It helps when you're a good wrestler, but I think they could use him even when he is just an average wrestler. The promo goes on where he says that he's defended the title everywhere, and genuinely now more so than anyone because he's defended it in Australia, Mexico, and the United States. All he needs is Canada to hit the core four, and if he somehow can get in the New Japan Super J crown, then he can claim that as well. Carrie says he couldn't do it without his pops. May asks Ricky if he will team with Carrie in the Crockett Cup, and Rick answers that yes, and they have dreams of gold or something along those lines. The old man still wants to chase those tag titles. There's no way they win the Crockett Cup. There's no way they win the tag titles, right, DK?
No, I honestly don't think so. I think we have the better chance of Tyrus and his partner.
So, what did you think of this promo, the backstage segment?
I think this is what I was thinking of earlier, where Carrie seems to be okay with the new direction of... Yeah, Ricky seems to be okay with the new direction of Carrie. He doesn't... They're not showing any heat of, hey, calm down, or hey, be respectful or whatever. He seems to be lining it up. I don't... And I've said before, if you're not going to get rid of Ricky, I'd rather it be they both turn than just Carrie.
Well, could you imagine if Ricky starts managing like Brady Pierce or something to feud with Carrie Morton?
No, and I think that's the whole thing. Steve Cutler was his name, by the way, in WWE.
Steve Cutler.
And anyhow, back to the whole thing. I think a heel turn for Carrie is good. Revisiting Dominic Rey Mysterio would be bad. So if he turns, Ricky either needs to go away or turn with him.
Dave Scooby, says Carrie needs to find a tag partner besides his dad and form the EDM Express, glow sticks and fist pumps.
That scares me, but might be good.
I think this one's worse. Scissor me, Daddy Morton.
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
No, not even jokingly, just no.
Next up, we have the Thrillbilly and Pollo promo back with May Valentine. Now, Thrillbilly says that Odinson is going to have to, well, I'll get to that. Thrillbilly is very boastful as well, as he should be. He won the Battle Royal at 3-1-2. He's got a shot at at the NWA National Championship. And now we learn that National Championship is going to be on the line. That the next week, the shot at that title is going to be on the line when Odinson and Thrillbilly go one-on-one. Weird stipulation. When May challenges why Poyo would put that in the line, she said, "Why wouldn't we? He's the best there is." And we might all agree with that, but I still think that's a silly booking ploy. Like, there should have been some sort of, supply and demand here. There should have been a reason for them to put this on the line as opposed to just giving it to him. But as we continue with this, the promo, which I thought was hilarious, because Thrillbilly says he's a world's traveler. He'll go anywhere to beat up anybody. He'd even go to Asgard. And if Odinson is in Asgard, he better Asgard his ass against the Thrillbilly, which made me laugh. They'll be, like I said, they'll be going one-on-one for the number one contendership. And what's weird about that is that's not how they started the promo. That didn't happen until Poyo brought it up after the Asgardian line. But assuming whoever wins that match will head to Crockett Cup to challenge for the national championship. I really like Odinson. I like him a lot. I think he's undervalued. I don't think the NWA knows exactly what they want to do with him. I don't think they've found a role for him yet. But he's got no chance against Odinson, right?
He's got no chance against Odinson?
Excuse me. Odinson has no chance against Thrillbilly. Excuse me. That's my fault.
Well, I would hope not. But again, they've kind of done some weird things. Like you, I'm not a fan of when number one contenders or things that aren't normal titles are put on the line, especially when there's absolutely no advantage to it. It's not like, well, Odinson wouldn't agree to get back in the ring and, Thrillbilly wants his revenge. It's just, no. Yeah, sure. We'll put our number one contendership on the line.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't we have that recently with Angelina Love when Velvet gave Angelina Love her title shot from the last championship challenge series, and then she immediately puts it on the line against Chelsea Green. Has nothing to win. There's nothing for her to win, but she can lose.
Yep.
And then she loses it.
Yep.
And so it was just like, oh, that was really stupid of you. And so that, so first of all, the repeated storyline. And second of all, they hopefully would not do anything stupid like giving it to Odinson, because I sure as hell don't want to see EC3 versus Odinson. I mean, quite frankly, I haven't enjoyed most of EC3's matches in the NWA. But I did enjoy his promo.
We'll get to that. Yeah, like you, I haven't been in love with EC3's NWA run. I'm glad that they put a title on him. I'm glad it was a prominent title. Like, they could have put the U.S. tag titles on him. They could have done something that's almost doesn't move the needle. But the fact that they put the national title, which traditionally has been the number one contender to the world title, I feel like that was a bold move by the NWA. And especially when you look at the national champions that we've had in the past year and a half, 2 years, or even to go back to when it was incepted, right? Like the first national champion was Ricky Stark, right? No. First national champion. First national champion was Willie Mack. Excuse me. Willie Mack drops it to Colt Cabana, James Storm, Colt Cabana, Aaron Stevens. Aaron Stevens drops it to Trevor Murdoch. Murdoch drops it to Adonis. Adonis has it twice.
Adonis gives it up and then wins it back in a nonsense storyline.
Then the belt goes to Mayweather. Mayweather goes to Jack Stane. Mayweather wins it back. Or excuse me, no, he doesn't win it back. Scion wins it from Jack Stane
after Mayweather interference.
Yeah, and then Scion has it for a ridiculous amount of time before dropping it to EC3. Now, I'm a huge Jack Stane fan, but nobody on that list is over. Let me say that again. Colt Cabana is a former world champion. James Storm has been a world champion in other places. Aaron Stevens had potential to be a world champion. It hasn't really been the catapult to the world title that we would think it would be. And, even Trevor Murdoch wasn't close to the 10 pounds of gold until after he lost the title. So if EC3 is able to use the momentum of winning the national title to get a shot at the world title, I would be surprised.
Yeah, I don't really know where they're going. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it. Hopefully they'll do it in an interesting way.
Now, it's kind of funny because we lost where we were going there. We were talking about Silas Mason, and then we're talking about EC3. But he doesn't come until later in the show, because up next is quite possibly the greatest match for DKM in the history of the NWA. In my opinion, probably one of the best women's matches that the NWA has had in quite some time. We get Natalia Markova and La Rosa Negra. The match starts off with the Battle of the Butts.
Yes, it does.
I wasn't complaining. Did I lose focus again?
I have.
My battery died.
Well,
hang tight with me, folks. DK, say something clever.
Something clever, excuse me. Now, I think this match shows that you can get away with goofy stuff at the beginning as long as the match ends up being good.
And it was good. And it's funny, it's almost like you read my notes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, as I was going to say, and I think the thing that actually at one point, when neither one of them could get pins, I was starting to become convinced it was going to be a time limit draw. And I was really expecting, if it wasn't a draw, then for Negra to win, since, they had just kind of been building her and maybe the possibility of still tagging something there with Camille. So it was a good match. Few too many false finishes for my taste, but in general, it was, it was good. They worked well together. It was convincing, and I was surprised by the ending. And, I had two women's with big butts shaking them. What more could you want?
You said it. You said it pretty much all. After the silly in the beginning, both women settle in for a very solid match. And I felt like, unlike you, I guess I wouldn't have been surprised by either woman winning. I felt like either one of them could have secured the victory at any time. What I really enjoyed about it is when they started doing the kicking strikes in the middle of the ring. It was a fun spectacle to watch. We know that Natalia Markova obviously has, trained feet, if you will. I didn't know La Rosa Negra had such abilities when it comes to striking as well. The kickings going back and forth was, like I said, it's pretty cool. Markova gained the advantage, though, but again, it wasn't for very long. At one point, La Rosa Negra picks up Natalia Markova to go for a spine buster, but she really kind of spun around with it, and I hadn't really seen that before. They called it an airplane spin spine buster. There were moments in this match that I could see that both of the women kind of, I don't want to say blew a spot, but you could see that things probably weren't as crisp and as clean as they were supposed to be, but they also kept working through it. They didn't get frazzled. They didn't flub any things. They didn't throw their hands up in the air. They just kept working, and I could appreciate that. You want to say something? I know you do. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in this match in the main event, you'll see a couple times where, like you said, you could tell they got lost. I'm going to say it like that. they got lost. Somebody wasn't quite sure where they were supposed to be, but the ladies worked it out and were able to keep it going. You know, in the main event, one of the times they kind of pulled it out. One time they didn't at all. And yeah, I mean, I think that shows, you know, I always say about a botch isn't a botch unless one of two things happens. When you go exactly for the same move again, or two, you act like it wasn't. As in, you totally miss them with a flip off the top, but you act like you hit them. And you still go for that cover, and they're still acting like they're, you know, dead. And so when you can actually do something out of it, then make something out of it, well, then that's stuff you see in real combat sports. So, you know, we've all seen a boxer or UFC fighter trip and fall because they threw a punch or kick with such force, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, probably the best match of both USA and Power.
And
I want to shout out here. It is not uncommon for the women to have some of the top matches, especially Camille.
Yeah.
And so, you know, let's shout out to Jazz. Let's shout out to Medusa, you know, the women that are working with them in the back who are, you know, agenting or producing the matches. I don't know if it's just that Billy doesn't care as much about the women or what, but they certainly get the most out of their talent.
And what I also want to point out too is, like, Markova literally had to kill La Rosa Negra to get that victory. Like, you know, normally Markova ends a match with a beautiful disaster, that spinning heel kick in the corner, but it took her a really massive double-legged missile drop kick to get La Rosa Negra into position for that beautiful disaster, then a double arm DDT, and then literally just kind of sat on her to get that pinfall. I really felt like it's a huge victory for Markova, and I hope that this sets up something more for her down the road, maybe a shot at Kenzie Paige in the TV title, or maybe a shot at Camille. You know, as of right now, we haven't seen very many prospects show up in the NWA for a potential title match.
Well, you know, we've thought for a long time that Markova is somebody they should build to go after Camille. And they seem to be leaning that way at one time, and then just kind of like didn't do it.
And then I was putting my tinfoil hat on and brainstorming why. Why has Markova kind of had that stall, that lull in her push? And the only thing that I can think is that Billy Corgan knew that he wanted Natalia Markova and Mercurio to do this stunt on all his shows, and knowing that maybe she wouldn't be available for some of the pay-per-views or live events, that he grabbed her and said, hey, look, we're going to put you on the road with the Smashing Pumpkins. You're going to be on every night. You're going to get paid. You're going to tour the world. But we're going to stall your push in the NWA. That wouldn't surprise me, because it seemed like just as soon as this this whole Smashing Pumpkin tour took off, that when that video dropped and her and Mercurio were in that video, it seemed like right about then she kind of started taking more losses.
Which was weird.
Next up, we get May with Ella Envy. And I just want to point out that I'm a huge Ella Envy fan. She'll be Kenzie's first opponent for the TV title, which I'm assuming is next week, or maybe it'll be the week after. I'm not entirely sure. Envy says that her and Paige were more than just partners, May. Gosh, some of the things you say just don't make any sense. They were best friends. They were sisters. And Envy says when she wins the title that she's willing to do the same thing for Roxy, which I think is sweet. I think that was very, very sweet.
Yeah.
Did I mention I'm a huge Ella Envy fan?
You haven't. And look, this wasn't a bad thing, but again, where are they going with this? We see this. We saw a little bit of this when Tyrus was TV champion. You know, he would defend against Jordan Clearwater and Black G's and everything. And so are they redoing the storyline? Are they trying to lead to a split and Pretty Empowered? I mean, are they just doing this to do this? And
let me put the tinfoil hat back on.
Well, you need it when trying to come up with some of this stuff, because I'm not always sure
the Southern Six is coming. You gotta get Kenzie Paige out of Pretty Empowered, and what better way to do that than Ella Envy, Roxy, and even Kenzie's own sister churning on her, forcing her out of the group that she created.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. See, I'm allergic to bad booking, and that's not the best booking. Anyways,
I was very impressed that you actually sneezed, because half the time I'll say that and then I never actually sneeze.
Oh, allergies have been kicking my ass lately. Next up, we get May. Excuse me. Yeah, we go back with May, and this time with EC3. Now we brought up. You said that you really enjoyed this promo. I still take umbrage with him saying the nostalgic wrestling alliance. Like, we get it, dude. You don't like it. You know what? If you don't like it, don't be here. However, he does make it clear that he's charging towards the 10 pounds of gold. And this was a good promo. One thing that I did like, he said, like, if you want to take Berlin, or if you want to take Paris, you got to take Berlin. Let me try that again. If you want to take Berlin, you got to take Paris first. And although I butchered the delivery, he nailed it. It was an awesome, analogy that, if you want the 10 pounds of gold, you have to get there first. You have to free the French first to get there. May points out that it sounds like that EC3 is looking beyond the Thrillbilly or Odinson. And that's when EC3 fires back and says he's willing to go anywhere to defend the national title. He's not overlooking anybody. He'll defend the title anywhere in the world. And you're right. This is where the promo got good. I don't like the whole nostalgic wrestling alliance. I think that's stupid. I don't enjoy it.
I don't enjoy it, but I'm willing to overlook it in this case. Let me tell you what made this promo good as compared to most of them. And that was, he was energetic.
Yes.
He wasn't Raven, which he's not Raven. He shouldn't do Raven. He wasn't, nostalgic wrestling alliance. And, I'll take this belt anywhere. I'll take it anywhere in the world and, defend it. And I'm not looking past anybody. And, I'll show them how to control their narrative. Oh, my gosh, those were horrible promos. But, this was, hey, I'm a champion and I'm going to, defend this, and then I'll be knocking on that world. This is what you're supposed to do. If you're a wrestler in a promotion, what's your goal?
Yeah.
Win the world title. You win a lesser title to show that you're in top and you should be in consideration for that world title. So, I think very much that this style of EC3, more charismatic and not broody, and closer to what he was even more up in this promo than he was in the little Maddie TikTok things. Which, by the way, I love Maddie's TikTok interviews.
They're honestly the best thing that she's ever done.
Honestly, they are. Even though Jay didn't like it, but the one where Allison Kay chases her down the hall. It's so, and watching him do the little head beat bop with her. It's beautiful. But anyway, so yeah, this is more the EC3 I want to see.
Yeah.
The pre-ROH EC3. So I was happy with this. If he can be like this, I don't have objections to him going on and challenging or maybe eventually winning the world title.
Yeah.
Because, this is this type of guy you want that would be out there who could more easily pull off that tweener role.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a good point too. And with obviously with the NWA having the ability to be a tweener is almost like a prerequisite to wrestle in the NWA because they have no defined heels or faces. But let's get back more to the show. This is the main event. This is it. When I say this is it, this is it. You've got the World Junior Heavyweight Champion title on the line, Joe Alonzo, with America's Jawline, Jamie Stanley, taking on Carrie Morton, sans Ricky. And that's, to me, that was quite unusual to see Carrie come out there without Ricky. Typically, that's not something we've seen thus far in the NWA outside of international appearances. He uses, I believe, Joe Alonzo's t-shirt to floss his crotch, which, again, the commentary was quite funny that Danny Deals caught the shirt and then Tim accused him of sniffing it, which made me laugh. And if you see Corgan's in the back there, you can see him watching the event live, and he's laughing at this. So if you wonder why Carrie Morton is World Junior Heavyweight Champion, there's a good reason right there. Like I said, Alonzo has Stanley in his corner. The commentary acknowledges that Ricky isn't there, that Carrie has been somewhat of a different animal. You know, and again, we showed you here on the show where he's been a different animal. The match starts off pretty good. Stanley gets involved pretty early when he distracts Carrie just for a minute, and Alonzo dives on him fast. And that's one of my favorite things about this match is how quickly Alonzo, like almost like that stalking tiger, that stalking hunter, jumping on his prey. He was quick to jump on Carrie with just the littlest of distractions. And you know, once that edge is there, Alonzo kind of dominates a lot of the match. You have Jamie Stanley choking Carrie on the ropes. With Alonzo getting the advantage, he takes over the match. He still catches a ton of heat from that Chicago crowd, and even the announcers kind of point to like, hey, you know, you would think he would be more well received in his hometown. And I think it was Danny that said that no, they know him better. That's why he's getting the heat. But you know, and the match itself, it kind of goes back and forth. Carrie gets some decent offense in there, but for the most part, Joe Alonzo kind of controlled the temp and the flow of the match up until right at the end when Carrie got the pin, and he used it. He used it by pulling the trunks. He cheated to win. It's visible. It's on TV. It's recorded history. And TK, what did you think of this match?
I thought it was a good match between the two of them. I don't think it was anything special. I don't think it was as good as their first match. And there was that one point in the corner where they just seemed totally lost, like they didn't know what they were supposed to do, you know, near the end. You know, Jamie Stanley's there by Alonzo, and Carrie's just kind of standing there, and it's just like, somebody do something. And they were just kind of like, I think he's supposed to do something. You know, that type of thing. And so that went a little too long for me.
Did you, just real quick, this is late breaking. Joe Alonzo just tweeted this a second ago, and I want to share it. I don't know if you can see that, but the real Carrie Morton cheating, just like his dad cheated on his mom back in the day. Plus, my shoulder was up. Ouch. Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. If you're not going to put the title on Carrie, then it needs to go on somebody like Rhett Titus.
Oh, you're speaking my language.
I don't want to see somebody like Joe Alonzo or even Alex Taylor or whoever the other one is, you know, winning it. I want to see it be on an established wrestler. The other thing is, again, this was a good match between the two of them. I still find Carrie Morton sloppy. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time getting past that. Carrie Morton as a heel is a better Carrie Morton. Carrie Morton as a pompous needs to be, slapped in the face, chicken shit heel. Yeah, that's a better Carrie Morton. But I don't really enjoy him that much in the ring compared to like when I hated Tully Blanchard and really hated Tully Blanchard. Didn't understand why Tully Blanchard was anywhere near. Why are you giving him U.S. national title reigns? And a lot of people don't realize that although combined, Magnum TA was champion longer. I think Tully Blanchard's reign was longer than both of Magnum's, individual. But it's because you want to see him get his ass kicked. And he could do enough in the ring that really made you want to see him get his ass kicked, he was good enough in the ring. And a lot of times that's what the match was him getting his ass kicked. And then taking advantage of it. I remember I talked about that one Great American Bash the year that Dusty won the title. And he was actually wrestling Ronnie Garvin in a series of take this matches. And at the end, I think the two of them split. It was either even or one just won one more match than the other. But you didn't really care who won the match. You just wanted Ronnie Garvin to beat the crap out of Tully Blanchard. And every night, Ronnie Garvin beat the crap out of Tully Blanchard. Even if he lost, then he still got a hold of him and beat the crap out of him. Because that's what I was paying to see. That's what I wanted. I wanted, I didn't think Dusty was going to win the title. I certainly didn't think Ricky Morton Hawk or most of the other challengers they had lined out were going to beat him. So it was like, I'm going to pay to see, Ronnie Garvin, who I was a big Ronnie Garvin fan, by the way, kick Tully Blanchard's ass because I love Ronnie Garvin and I hated Tully Blanchard. And this is somebody who's smart. My dad from the day I first watched wrestling let me know that it was scripted. So I've never been one of those people. Well, I thought it was real. There are times when I thought there was real animosity between people. I never thought that, David Von Erich and Jimmy Garvin were friends.
Yeah.
Although they were in real life, But, just, that's what Carrie Morton has the chance to get to that point. But I do think he's very green. I still don't think he should be the world junior heavyweight champion. But it is what it is. A heel Morton does better promos.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And so, they seem to be heading in the right direction with them. Again, either Ricky needs to go away or, all of Charlotte and Ric Flair, or he needs to turn with them. It doesn't matter to me which, really. I might be more interested in Ricky Morton if he stays out of the ring, but if he's a heel.
Yeah. That would be an interesting dynamic. But you know what happened tonight, DK? You and I talked wrestling for an hour and 53 minutes. We covered Power. We talked about Australia. We talked about potentially what's going to happen when the U.S. comes, the U.S. Smashing Pumpkins tour. We talked a lot about wrestling, and we still have 6 minutes before the 2-hour mark. What happened?
Jaden wasn't here.
Is that long?
I blame it all on Jaden, not me.
The jokes. That's what it is. It's maybe, but were we still funny tonight?
Well, never as funny as we are when Jaden's here because, looks aren't everything, which is why Jaden hides behind his screen. But
fair enough.
Where is he? Why isn't he here?
I don't know.
I never got a memo saying he wasn't going to be here.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. I don't know. But we're going to wrap it up for the night.
Just out of curiosity, you know, I heard your little lie earlier, but I'm assuming that rehab went well.
Rehab.
Yeah, the real reason you were out last week.
Como say what?
Not the. Did you even watch last week's show?
No, I didn't watch any wrestling last week.
You didn't even watch your own guy's show. We let the world know that you were, you know, under a wellness policy violation, and that's why you weren't here.
Actually, you know, I take it back. I did jump on for a little bit when we were driving home from Universal Studios, and I kind of caught the part where Pam was like, "Hey, you know, wait a minute, how come you guys have this podcast where you talk hours about how much you hate the NWA? What's the point of doing that?" And I felt like you and Jaden handled that question very, very well. I did watch the episode later. Even Tim was like, "Hey, that's a fair question," and it's a fair question.
It's a question I've asked lots of times to lots of people in other situations.
Right. And the thing is there's been times where on this podcast, you and Jaden both took a break from doing this podcast for a while because you were so just over the NWA. And the thing about it is, we don't do this podcast because we hate the NWA. This isn't supposed to be the NWA shit show. It's not. The show is genuinely supposed to be about what we love about the NWA. And there are moments, like for me right now, the Southern Six, I'm digging that, and I hope it does come to the United States. There's so much stuff that there is positive in the NWA. I genuinely feel like a few little tweaks here and there, and the NWA could be everything I want it to be. It's not, but I think it could be. And I think the point of this podcast is that we're trying to motivate those who are listening to want more, want better, to not be satisfied with a status quo. The NWA has opportunity to be something different, something better, something unique, something that we haven't seen in a very long time. And there's moments where it looks like we're going to get that. And then there's moments where we have a gimp wrestling a guy who's balding in a mask versus hair match.
With a bad set of clippers.
With a very bad set of clippers. Anyways, but I did listen to the show. You guys did a great job. But I thought that was something that was really cool. Huh?
Even Tim.
Oh, yeah, Tim. I love Tim. Why do you keep putting this guy down? He's literally holding the glue together.
Have you met me? Holding the glue together? The glue that's holding everything else together. Okay.
Whatever.
I mean, look, if you're not going to be here, I have to make fun of somebody.
That's true. But Jaden was also there. So,
and Jaden and I make fun. I mean, Jaden makes plenty of fun of me, and I make plenty of fun of him. Yeah. But the two of us together are much better when we're making fun of you.
That's true. Someone else pointed out, I think it was Rusty, Louder. I can't remember. Rusty, I know his name is Rusty, and he pointed out, that's why I listen to this podcast, because you guys tell it like it is. And it's, again, we don't take any joy when the show is bad. We want them to be all good. We want to talk positively about the NWA. Tonight, we actually did a lot of positive talk about the NWA. But when it's bad, we're going to say it's bad. When it's good, we're going to say it's good. And Mike says, hey, not everyone.
We don't always agree.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Sometimes I like a show that you don't. Sometimes, very, very rarely, a show that I don't like. But it's happened at least once. Anyways, all this to say, thank you guys for tuning in. Mike and everyone else who's been in the chat, Lane Bricks and Willie Bowen and Dave Scooby and anybody else I'm missing. Danny Gil's here.
For sure.
Luthez, James Bell, all you guys, do appreciate you guys hanging out with us every Thursday. I'll be back here on Tuesday to do the pre-party. I'm sure I'll be all hyped up on Dubby, and we'll be talking all about what's going to happen for this week's episode of Power and all that good stuff. The other guys will talk to you about USA, a lot of the United Wrestling Network, Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. He's doing a lot of deep dives into what's happening in Memphis, Hollywood, and Derby City. DK, where can folks find you on the interwebs if they're so interested?
You can find me at DKMFWTX on most social medias. Wrestling related, I'm most active on Twitter, which isn't saying a lot, but I am. If you try to get me on Instagram and I don't know who you are, you probably need to send me a message, because otherwise I tend not to add people on Instagram because I get too many somebody from Greece that needs me to go out and buy an Amazon card for them. And on Facebook, I don't mind adding people, but if you annoy me, I will drop you.
Yeah, that's why he dropped me. You can follow the Alliance everywhere at the Alliance blog. I mean, we're not on the Telegram. I guess that got, is that still around?
I have no earthly idea.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I don't dance on TikTok unless you pay me. That's the subscription account.
Is that where your dad jokes are? I haven't seen the last couple of dad jokes.
I stopped posting. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I haven't posted as much on there. We got a lot of
them at all?
Huh?
You're not doing them at all?
Oh no, the dad jokes I still do on Instagram.
Oh, you do them on Instagram?
Yeah, that's.
I hate to ask this because you have business accounts and podcast accounts and personal accounts. Which one do you post it
on? The business account.
The Buckets for Rent.
Bucketsforrent.com. Get your buckets in Southern California. That's a not paid sponsorship. But if you want to pay for DK and I to get a cup of coffee, hats, shirts. This guy's wearing one right now. And, you can get these nice, wonderful merchandise at our merch store. Also, if you're in need of energy, W is our official sponsor. Make sure you check them out. Anyways, thanks to guys for being here. We're going to wrap it up here. 2 hours. That's maybe the shortest show we've ever done. And there's a lot of filler in that 2 hours too. But until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.